So now we're in this round of documents and reports and testimonies, but you've always been pretty open-eyed about the company's ability to come out and surprise on revenue growth or engagement. Do you think that trend comes to an end tonight?
I do not know, Carl. It seems to me, though, that the company has an incredibly difficult scenario with investors at the moment, because one of Haugen's core arguments is that the company has been willing to sacrifice literally everything that relates to the public interest in order to maximize profits, which, frankly, most CEOs would do under the same circumstance. If they have great numbers this quarter, it will be because increased prices and ad loading offset the damage from Apple's change in privacy. And I don't know which way that's going to go, because Apple's change had a huge impact on Snap. It almost certainly had a big impact on Facebook. Whether they could offset it with price increases and with ad loading, I do not know. But I do know that the public relations of that is not going to look good, because Haugen's core point is if they do bring out big numbers, it will be because they've sacrificed something else.
So what would be the offset to that? Could they come out tonight and either issue a corporate name change or even further investment in trying to moderate content via AI or human beings?
Carl,
basically the beginning of a new investment cycle?
I just don't see it, because realistically, Facebook has saturated the market for its existing products. And the concept that there is a virtual reality or an augmented reality opportunity that exists today that would be big enough to keep that engine turning strikes me as very unlikely. And so I think if you're an investor, one of the things you have to look at here is that this company has been an enormous success for investors, but at a huge cost to the countries we live in. And at some point, we have to decide where do we want to live, because the Facebook papers, among other things, have shown that Facebook, in fact, has, because of the design of its products, really furthered things like authoritarianism, right? When you put 3 billion people on one network with no walls, and then construct a business model that's designed to amplify the most extreme emotions of society, you're going to bring a lot of dangerous ideas from the fringes into the mainstream, white supremacy, anti-vax, and the like. And we're now seeing the cost of that. And the question for investors is it time to move on to something else? Because, you know, this company has shown that it is not going to take the public interest seriously. And I think, candidly, that's a problem throughout big tech. Maybe Apple would be an exception to that, maybe a few others, but, you know, Google, Amazon, you know, a number of others, I think, have very similar problems to what Facebook has.
So in terms of moving on to something else, could that something else be Apple? Roger, I ask that because obviously the iOS privacy updates and the impact that's going to have or is already having on social media companies like Facebook is very much in focus when we get results after the bell today as well. And we also know that Apple's own advertising business is growing in the midst of this.
So I think that Apple is a mixed bag right now. I'm a huge fan of their product strategy. I think their strategy relative to government on antitrust is insane. I look at this as Apple has a strategic need to maintain an advantage in privacy and security. And to do that, they need to maintain their monopoly in the App Store. In Europe, they're almost certainly going to lose it because they're not listening to what the regulators want. The regulators want them to reduce the prices they charge in the App Store. They want them to allow the app vendors to have alternative payment systems. Those changes are going to have a very small impact on Apple's numbers relative to the benefit of keeping the monopoly on the App Store. And I think they are endangering the entire thing with this. I think, just candidly, the tech sector has had this incredible run, but I do think the companies really are out of touch with the change in public sentiment about, you know, the role that companies need to play in society.
Shepard Smith here. Thanks for watching CNBC on YouTube.